Right, friends, this is our last session in our journey through the book of Job, pilgrimaging the book of Job. This is our last topic, and the topic is double restorations, double restoration, and lessons from the book of Job. I believe you agree with me that it has been a nerve-wracking experience and journey, lots of deep theological engagement, but here we are, double restoration, self-landing. God is always good. We may go through the ups and downs in our lives, but as long as we remain resolute in our faith, God will reward us. Do not get weary of doing good, because when the season comes, you will reap. Do not get weary of doing good, because when the season comes, you will reap. Everything has its own season under the earth. So double restoration. In our pilgrimage of the book of Job, we covered 5 topics. We covered about 5 topics, not really counting the introductory topics. Of course, we had the theological background of the book of Job, the historical background of the book of Job, and so forth. But I mean, we covered 5 major topics that I would want to recap on. The first topic was the perfect man. Then we covered the miserable comforters. In the first man, the perfect man, we were just wrestling with the character of Job himself. In the midst of all these sufferings, Job remained perfect, the perfect man. So the question that we wrestled with was, what does it mean to be perfect? The miserable comforters. What kind of friends did Job have? And what kind of friends do you have? Because those people matter most when circumstances turn upside down in your life. And you need to take care to make sure that you keep on reflecting on your social safety net. What kind of friends do you have? The hurting God. In the hurting God, the central message was, the God whom we worship does not sympathize with us. He empathizes with us. He walks with us through thick and thin. The clay days, man. We are slowly climbing up the climax in our pilgrimage of the book of Job, whereby Job was requesting for a mediator. The pain, the anguish was unbearable, and Job wanted someone to come and mediate between him and God. What did I do to deserve this kind of suffering? Where are you, God? Because of suffering, Job asked a very pertinent question that everyone else would ask if things are turning upside down. There are many circumstances, situations in our lives whereby you do everything right and you get the wrong answer. Where are you, God? There are men who work day and night trying to take care of their wives. At the end of the day, those wives would still cheat on them. They're doing everything right, getting the wrong answer. Where are you, God? There are women who are very loyal and respectful to their men. They fear God, but their men do not see it. They still proceed and cheat. They do everything right, getting the wrong answer. Where are you, God? There are circumstances in life whereby people work day and night. You work more than anyone else around you. You work more than all of your friends, but still, in terms of development and progress in life, you are worse. You are the least amongst your friends. You're doing everything right, getting the wrong answer. Where are you, God? You invest all your life in your kids so that they can be better people. You can transform generations. But at the end of the day, kids are still kids. They go wayward. You did everything right, but you're still getting the wrong answer. Where are you, God? But again, we went through God's responses, and those God's responses and challenges to Job. In those challenges or challenging questions or responses, Job, the faith of Job was revived, and he believed in God again. He believed, his faith was ignited again, and because of that, it takes us where we are right now. The double restorations and lessons from the book of Job. From the 5 topics, we have seen that the book of Job gives us tips on how to live when life does not work according to the general law. When life does not work according to plan, how do we live life when it's not working according to plan? That's very important. Which general law? The general law is the cause and effect. There is a cause for everything. Poverty is caused by wickedness and sin, while prosperity is caused by righteousness. What about in the situations where you are not sinful, where you are righteous but you're still poor? Where you see very evil people but still prospering? And this is the question I think which many Christians would ask. We are believers, but we seem to be suffering more than unbelievers. It takes us to the issue of retributive justice. God punishes the evil doers and rewards righteousness. We have seen in our lives, life wisdom teaches us that the righteous suffer more, and the terrible people, bad people, live longer or live longer and nice life. So chapter 42, verses 1 to 7, the epilogue there. It's hard to accept it because it seems to confirm the old belief, cause and effect, retributive justice. You see, we have come from a point whereby the book of Job, from chapter 1, chapter 39 somewhere, we are coming from a point whereby the theology which is being dismissed here, the theology which is being dismissed here is the theology of retributive justice. The theology of cause and effect is the one which was being combated and destroyed throughout all the 39 chapters of the book of Job. The question which was being answered or dismissed was the belief that the righteousness equals to prosperity and sinfulness equals to poverty. The cause and effect. But when we reach to chapter 42 now, we see the same reversal now, more like the antithesis of the same thing, the reversal of the same thing. Whereby, because we see Job is now a righteous man, he's a righteous man, he remained righteous, and we see his fortunes being restored. So again, because Job was righteous, he's being blessed again. And because his friends were sinners, bad people, they are somehow, we expect them to be punished again here. So this is now more like, it's hard to accept this, because it's almost a contradiction that we are reaching to. Because of righteousness, Job's wealth is being doubled, restored, and because of wickedness, the friends are suffering. By doing good, Job is being rewarded, and the friends are being punished for being evil. So again, this is where the problem is. A topic for another day. But let's have a glance on how Job was restored. Of interest here, before the calamity, Job had 7,000 sheep. Double restoration. After the calamity, God restored him, and he had 14,000 sheep. 14,000 sheep. He had 3,000 camels. After restoration, 6,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 1,000 yoke of oxen, 500 donkeys, 1,000 donkeys. Large number of servants, no number, but definitely would believe that since everything was doubled here, chances are very high that even the servants were doubled proportionally here. 10 children. Job, the children were not doubled. The children, the number is still the same, 10. But what does the Bible say now? Nowhere in the world we can find women as beautiful as Job's daughters. So the Bible here wants to maintain the number 10, but wants to give us a claim here that besides being 10, although the number was not doubled, the beauty somehow was doubled now, because nowhere in the world we could find women or ladies or girls beautiful as Job's daughters. But human beings are human beings, whether ugly or whatever, they cannot be replaced. So, and what I found interesting here in double restoration, there's no mention of women here or wives. You see, there no mention of wives here. The same number of wives, one wife before the calamity, after the calamity, one wife. No number of wives here. Because I think simply because the wife was still there. Even if he had one wife and the wife was not really good enough to give him good advice, but everything else was doubled except wives, which is contradictory to African men. African men, once they are rich and blessed, their wealth doubles. They also double women or wives. Lessons from the book of Job. These lessons come from Job's responses. Job acknowledged that he neither knew God's power nor God's wisdom. So he was still thinking. Deeply about. Job was still reflecting. This experience made Job to understand God better. I heard you by the hearing of the ear, but now I see you with my eyes. So this experience made Job, not only previously before this experience, Job heard about God, but after this experience, through this experience, Job now experienced God. He saw God, experienced God. Theology, friends, is experiential. You can only become a better believer when you experience God. You don't need to hear about God from others. You need to experience God. Theology is experiential. Friends reprimanded. You have not spoken with me rightly, as has my servant Job. Friends offered the sacrifice, and Job prayed for them. The prayer is not captured, but it should have included the words, Father, forgive them. God works in mysterious ways. Situations may seem to be unbearable, miserable, but God works in mysterious. We can never understand God. In most cases, we understand our experience, we see our experiences and interpret them and try to reflect where is God in my situation, and we limit God in the process. But God, friends, is complex. God is complex. God is mysterious. That's what makes him God. In Exodus chapter 3, verse 1 following, God was in a cloud and in a pillar of fire. He was in a cloud during the day. In the night, he was in a pillar of fire. In the wise men, God was in the star. The story of the wise men, God was in the star. In one of my favorite stories, Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1, God was in a strong and violent wind. In Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 1, God was in a strong and violent wind. The valley of dry bones. But equally the same, in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 11 following, to Elijah, God was in a gentle and whisper. And it says, the Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. This is Elijah hearing the voice. Then because he had his own preconceived ideas, the idea of God, he was expecting God to come in a violent wind or in fire and something else. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice came and then a voice said to him, what are you doing here, Elijah? So you see, God is mysterious. He works in ways that we can never comprehend. We just need to keep our faith and our belief in him. Riches are not always a sign of being blessed. Poverty is not always a sign of being cursed. This is common knowledge. In our society, majority of the people whom are rich, they are not really the best people in terms of being faithful or upright, especially from African context. To be a Christian takes a lot of patience and consistency. We are mere stewards, but God is the custodian. Paul would say to be a Christian is like to walk in a cloud. We need to be very strong. God does not sympathize with us, but empathize with us. He suffers with us, and he is faithful to those who are resolute in their faith. Friends, this journey has been fulfilling and amazing, and I want to thank you for pilgrimaging with me in the book of Job. Mercy, siyabonga. It has been a wonderful pilgrimage, and I can't wait to be with you again for another trip. May God bless you.